help enable doers in downtown Las Vegas. And that can be anyone coming in from any sort of perspective. Most importantly, having shown their ability to execute on that thing they want to do. And so it's good to have an idea, and that's an important place to start, but there's a lot of people with ideas out there. And the key differentiator are those who can actually execute on that. And it takes a lot to execute. It's not enough to just do it on your own. It's not enough to talk about it and imagine the ways it can be done. There's many different aspects that go into that full execution. But our goal is to provide resources to those doers no matter where they're at within that process. So if it's one person with the idea that's taken the time to build out that business model and wants to learn where they should go next, then we have resources for that through our program called The Mill. As you build that out and you get a team together that is showing that they can execute as well, but still not quite to the point where you're replicating what you're doing, then we have progression labs, which is kind of our version of an accelerator program. And then of course from there, as you continue to grow and you're in that gap between replicating and really showing how you can scale, where you might be able to get a Series A funding opportunity, then that's where the tech fund comes in, and we can provide resources to help transition that. And so it's really all about the flow and the opportunity to get in and get involved at any point within it. For those who come to visit and connect with what's happening here, then that's how it all starts. That's how it all started for me. I was over in Salt Lake City originally. We had an entrepreneur event that had expanded over into downtown Las Vegas. And so I had come out for that and just got really excited about what's happening here. Before I knew it, my trips to Las Vegas were expanding longer. The time in between them was getting shorter until ultimately I wasn't going home anymore and just stayed.
In the right way, too.
Eventually. That took about 2 months. That's a different story. But that's kind of how things work. We understand that no one can know what to expect here. This town has spent billions of dollars over the years to describe itself as one certain persona. And even myself as a visitor prior to this, I had no idea. I had always wondered how a child could grow up in Las Vegas with the strip there and how weird that would be and kind of warp your sense of reality. But once you get here, you realize that it's really just like being in Orlando or Anaheim or any of the other places where there's a large tourist attraction. It's just a part of the community. It's not something you do every day. You don't even pay attention to it most of the time. And that there are real people here doing real things all around us. We have 2 million people in the valley that are all working together to do some amazing things outside of the one that's known. But that's still what is known. And so that's really one of those where our greatest opportunity comes from our greatest challenge. All of you are in New Vegas. You had been out for a conference prior to this or seen the TV shows or the movies. You had a perception of what it is. Now you come to downtown, and we think that that's a pretty stark contrast. And it allows us to really blow people away with what's happening here, because you never would have expected to see something like this happening, and especially not in Las Vegas. And we take that to our full advantage. And so that's why this part of us being able to share what's really happening is so important, and at the core of what we do. It's part of the fabric of the community. With 2 million people being in the valley, knowing that 40 million people visit every year, if we weren't open and comfortable with sharing this with others, then it would be a pretty awkward place for us to live. So it's really taking advantage of the core piece of what Las Vegas has had available from the beginning. As far as the funding process, we do look at things a little bit different. On the initial side of it, I guess I'll start with how we're the same. We want teams that can show or have proven that they can execute, that they work well together, have a strong customer base, have a product in place that they can replicate, and that they have a market large enough to do a scalable growth into it. In addition to that, We want teams that share the values of downtown, that understand the value of giving before you get, that if we all work together, we'll be far better off than if any one group just goes off and waits to give back to when they're successful. And that the team values the growth of the team within itself. We want to see that core team here building out upwardly mobile positions so that their employees can grow and gain experience within the company. It's not as beneficial for us to have a division of entry-level positions just moving to the area, and then those employees have to go somewhere else to gain more experience. Not that that can't add value to the community, it's just the area that, it's not an area that we're choosing to focus on for our part of what we're doing. And all of these different parts have to work together. The city has resources for certain types of organizations, the county and the state, and so we work very closely with them as someone comes in to, again, provide those resources for the doers. There are opportunities for those other things within the community. They do add value. It's just not the part that we're focused on. And we think that by us being the best at our piece and everyone else being the best at theirs, we have the best opportunity for building up the base and foundation for our community so that we can continue to grow this and it will be sustainable, and that there is an opportunity for that message and the story about Las Vegas to change in the future so that when you hear it, it's not necessarily just about the Strip, that there's also a story behind downtown and the local economy that's happening. That's kind of our general overview.
Wow, you said a lot today.
I guess no
You doing questions?
Yeah, if there's questions, let's go.
Great. This is a several part question. So you mentioned 3 funds. So what size are those funds? Like how big are the funds? And how much do you invest in each of those funds? How does the city, you talked about the city participating, so do they give money? What is their, what do they provide? And then last question is, what % of the companies are from Vegas, or what % have you brought in?
So I'll probably forget most of those, but I'll try to start answering them in order. We only have one fund. So the other pieces of that are just programs. These are opportunities for entrepreneurs to get engaged with what's happening downtown. But they do stage. So the Vegas Tech Fund is the funding source for all of that. For the mill, it starts at $5,000 for an individual and can go up to $25,000. And then from there, Progression Lab starts at $25,000 and can go up from there to probably $200,000. Our average investment is less than $300,000, and we syndicate almost all of our deals. So there's always other investors involved, many times investors outside of the area, and that just helps to build out those relationships. And it's also very important for us that the entrepreneurs themselves establish those relationships. So we don't have a syndicate of investors that just commit to anything that we're doing. Each one of those is an individual set of relationships that then evolve. And then of course we have had many come back and participate in new investments as they go along. Unofficially, as of yesterday, we have invested in 80 teams in less than 2 years. And we expect to continue on that pace. See, the other question was the city. The city has certain areas that they can add value and are very good at doing, and so we work with them to participate in that. They don't directly participate in our investments in any way. Ours is all individual private funds that are going towards the downtown project as a whole. But certainly the teams can then choose to participate in other programs.
Can you give an example of any particular thing the city does?
They are at every ribbon cutting.
They are. A lot of it is focused on those other areas that we're not focused on, which is great. That's how we complement. So we've had Take-Two Interactive that came in with a call center into the downtown area. That's not something that we would directly work with, but the city was then able to step in and work on incentive programs and space and that sort of thing for them.
They've generally been like really positive about the programs that are
Sure.
happening downtown. They love the downtown. Some of the things that are on Fremont Street, like those, while I'd love to believe that that big cocktail glass was because we moved here, it wasn't. It was actually the mayor and company that put that in there because they actually wanted to try to revitalize downtown. They tried some other efforts, hard to do it from a government perspective, and so it needs to be more communicated. So.
And I just met with them, the business development piece yesterday morning, and we talked about new initiatives. There's a lot of talk of education and what we can do to expand that, and so there's a ton of opportunities. It's just that it's complementary to what we're doing, not directly involved, which I think is great. Then we know we have a place to go, and there's not as much of an issue with kind of a competitive thing where this might be something I want to do, so I'll hold on to it, so maybe I don't give it to the best possible person, and we don't have to worry about that. This is the thing that we want to be the best at, and we're putting a bunch of resources into that, and these are the areas where they can be the best at it, and let's get the doers to the right set of resources.